Oh, hi, good morning. Great.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's begin today's session, right? If I'm not audible at any point of time, let me know. All right. Um, so back and neck straight, gently close the eyes. Start observing your breath. Observing the natural flow of the breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Keep the body aligned. And slowly begin to deepen your breath. Calming the mind. We'll chant 3 times, followed by 3 chanting. Inhale deeply for Om. 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 Shanti. Feel the vibrations. Join the palms together in front of the chest and up with the palms together. Place them on the eye. And very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palm, open up the eyes. Come back with a smile. Namaste to everyone. Let us begin today's session. So yesterday we talked about a very important text, right? And I told you that this text has all 4 forms of yoga: karma yoga, bhakti yoga, dhyana yoga, and gyan yoga. All these 4 major schools of yoga have been given in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So today we are starting with the first school of yoga, right? Which is karma yoga, right?
Can you just
K-A-R-M-A. Yeah, I wrote it down in the chat box also. Karma yoga. path of action, way of action, right? So when we think of, yoga, there's not just one way to go about it. First thing I want to discuss why these schools of yoga came up, right? So in any, if you take any example, suppose you have to, cook a meal, right? Suppose you choose a dish, you have to cook that, right? You will find multiple recipes online to cook that same thing. And there are different proportions in which you can add things to it, and accordingly, it will change the taste of the food, right? So, in that same manner, there are multiple ways for you to attain the same goal. So, you want to make that same dish, but there are so many recipes out there. So, these recipes very easily can be understood to be the ways in which you can go in the process of you, right? So when I talked of what yoga is, I said that it is a point, it is a state of mind, but there are so many ways of reaching to that stage of mind. People have different hobbies. Some people like to listen to music, some people prefer to dance instead, some people like to cook, some people like to clean, draw, paint. All of us have our own unique way of expressing ourselves. So, depending on that unique way and depending on the strength that we have, the best part about yoga is that yes, you have to reach a final point, right? But there are multiple ways that you can take to reach that point. Depending on your personality, your strengths, you can choose a path, right? So that is why yesterday I said read Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because, you know, same recipe, but so many ways, right? So 18 different ways have been given in Bhagavad Gita to reach that same goal, right? So that is how the schools of yoga came up actually. There are four major schools, and that is how they came up. Overall, people were divided these. If you will meet a lot of activists also, social workers, they will acknowledge that whatever they are doing is somewhere bringing about a change, right? So they really believe, they think that there is no other way to go about, the problems that we are facing unless and until we get up and act on them, right? And for such a person who really believes in action, or it's not just a person who believes in action, or if there is a person who is living day to day life and is not happy about it and cannot leave the world, right? Cannot leave their responsibilities. And for most of us, we cannot, right? We have to support our families, we have to support our own selves before our families, right? So we cannot just go in isolation and sit on a hill and meditate, right? So for us, karma yoga is a very practical way of going. Stop the crying and actually enjoy the task that you are. It's more about, you have to complete this task. You have a choice. Either you can cry and do it, or you can be happy about it. You can learn how to be happy about it, right? It's not necessary that you are always going to get what you want, but you can at least learn to change your state of mind, learn to understand, learn to be happy where you are, right? It's not that difficult. It's just that we are generally not taught. When we are kids, we are always asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? And we get all of these amazing answers from kids where they say doctor, engineer, this field, that field. But nobody ever gets up and says, I just want to be peaceful. Because we are not taught that. We are taught that we have to earn, we have to focus on our careers, which is amazing, but that's not the only thing, right? And when we make it the only thing, it somewhere makes us unhappy, because you are much more than that. So when you restrict yourself to it, you face some level of unhappiness over there, right? So that is why Karma Yoga is so important for us to live our lives. Because anyway, we have to live it. Any which way, I cannot leave my life behind. I am not ready as well, right? All of us, we are not ready. The day we will be ready, we probably won't come back to city life or, all of these things. We will not come, right? But we are not ready. So we need to understand how to live, you know. You cannot keep waiting for something to happen, right? So that you will live better. You can actually change the way in which you live. You have that right now. And why wait? If there is a way to, make each and every action so complete in the present moment, why wait? If I have the ability to change the state of my mind and the intention behind my action, why should I wait? Why should I wait for someone else to come in? I can do it. I have the ability. If I'm taught, if I follow, I can actually achieve it. And that's the most wonderful thing about Karma. You don't have to leave anything behind. You don't have to leave anyone behind, right? You can be where you are and you can make the most out of it, right? So perfection in action. In the beginning of the classes also, when we discussed the meaning of yoga, I discussed, yoga karmasu kaushalam, right? So perfection in action, that is when I told you about skillfulness or perfection in your action, how your action should be. But today we are going to go a little bit more deeper because, um, even though I explained at that point of time also certain things, but there is more to it, right? So everything you do in life has some reason behind, right? So if somebody comes and comments on your personality, you do not interact in that way, or you do not do this thing in this way. And if you delve deep, if you introspect, you will see that yes, you have a reason why you do not do it in that way and why you specifically do it in this way, right? So whatever, some experience, some situation, some circumstances, they molded you in that way that you are following that thing, right? You're existing the way in which you exist, right? If you introspect, you will be able to trace it back. Why, this thing, why do you act in this way, right? But if you really want to understand why you act in a particular way, the easiest answer for that is not tracing it back. The easiest answer for that is the thought. You never do something you do not think of, right? First you think about it, then you do it. Suppose you feel hungry, right? So you want to go and make something. It has to be something tasty. So suppose you want to make, pasta or something like that, right? So you like it, you want to make it, you're feeling hungry. So, first thing is that when you are feeling hungry, you will think of some food that you really like and you really want to have. So thought will come up. Then, when you think of something you really like, that feeling of hunger increases. Then you get up, then you know, cut the vegetables, boil everything, make the curry, everything. You prepare that and then you make it and then you eat it, right? But first thing that happened was that a thought came, right? And most of us neglect this thing. We think that whatever we are doing, whatever action we are doing, that is, what is being talked of when I talk of karma. But at what level? Not just the physical level. Because first, always you will see, first action will take place in the mind, right? If you would not have thought of that food, you probably would not have made the effort to get up and prepare it, right? If you would have not known about that food, you wouldn't have thought of it. If you wouldn't have thought of it, you wouldn't have prepared it, right? So each and everything is connected. But it starts with a single thought, with a single idea. most of the things we have today, they are based on some idea that someone had. Smartphones, somebody had an idea, okay, this could also be done over a phone. You could just swipe your finger and everything would move. Earlier, if you would have seen old phones, you could just press the keys, right? So all of these ideas first came in the mind. They thought that something like this could be done. And then there was such a big gap, right? What they wanted to achieve and where they were. And then they bridged that gap, right? They converted it into action. So on the most subtle level, the action is taking place on a mental level, right? So karma yoga is actually, the way in which you can even control this subtle action, because it is this action which takes place in the mind that eventually, when intensifies, comes in your speech and in your actions. It's not just like that you abuse someone. First, you feel the irritation and frustration in your mind, right? It's not just like that you appreciate someone. You first think of it. Thought comes up. You feel it, you think about it, right? And then you act. Then you say kind words, right? Same goes for action. If there's someone, right? We all have those. And same thing, if it doesn't cross your mind, your parents are there, your siblings are over there. If it crosses your mind, you might go and hug them, right? At the end of a very tiring day, you just might go home and hug them. It came in your mind, you did it, right? So on a very subtle level, karma yoga works on the thoughts. Because if you can manage, if you can understand your thought pattern, if you work with your thoughts, your actions are bound to change. Sometimes we scold someone, we love them. So there is so much love in that scolding. It doesn't feel like you are scolding that person. Having that loving feeling, you will see that, scolding is totally scolding out of love, they will scold differently. Ah, all right. Okay, right. So yeah, I was saying. So, if someone scolds out of love, it's going to be totally different, right? So if you are in a state of mind where you are loving, where you are caring, there are thoughts. There is am I audible? Can you hear me?
You've cut out.
I cannot hear you. Why is this? Yeah, still cannot.
Can't hear.
Hello.
Yes?
Yeah. Okay. Now I can hear you. Can hear me. Okay, great. Right. So I was explaining karmayog, right? And I was saying that if your state of mind, some days we are in a very good state of mind and something happens which really triggers you, but you're in such a good mood that you do not react to it. You're just like, let it go, जाने दो, right? In Hindi we say, चलो आज जाने दो इस चीज को, right? So this thing, if your state of mind is good, you will not probably not have that kind of reaction in the, like, when you act also, it will never show up on the speech and in your action, because state of mind is stable, it is good. But at the same time, if your state of mind is not good, maybe something that generally doesn't trigger you, it's also going to end up triggering you, right? So hence, channeling, working on the thoughts by doing the actions in life in such a way where you are not attaching yourself to the results, right? So sometimes, most of the times for us, what happens is whenever we do something, we expect something in return. It's at a very subtle level. That is why I talked of thought. Why? Because you will not even recognize that that expectation is coming up, right? So you need to go very deep in order to understand this thing, right? That whenever you do something, even if somebody else needs it, maybe you're just offering water to someone who is really thirsty, but when you're offering that water, the thing on your mind which eventually comes up, if that person doesn't thank you and just leaves like that, one thought does come up in our mind, they could have at least thanked me, right? You are helping someone who needs that help, doesn't even want it, needs it, right? And still there is this expectation where you are like, that person should have, that person should have thanked me. Why? You just helped someone, right? That person needed it, but you are so attached, to the results of your action, and there are going to be results of your action, right? So whatever you think of, there is going to be a result, there is going to be a fruit. If you plant the tree, there is going to be a fruit that comes out of that tree, right? And there are going to be multiple fruits in fact. Just think, each and every thought that crosses your mind, each and every action that you do during the day, how many fruits it's going to bring, right? So you have to be very mindful. So when the karma yogi, the karma yogi dedicates himself or herself, into the task completely, first thing, nothing else, is bothering them. No other thoughts. They are completely connected to the task. One quality is that. Second thing is there is some level of channeling that they do. So all of us, we do not decide when we get angry or when we get jealous or when we feel sad, right? But the the yogi will recognize that these things are bound to happen. What they can do is they can channel it, right? So they channel this thing and they dedicate themselves fully to their task, right? Whatever I'm supposed to do, this is my duty. Like, we cannot live our lives. It is our duty to earn for ourselves, for our family, for the coming generation, right? So we do that. We fulfill that responsibility. If you are a mother, when you are with your kids, it is your duty to take care of them, right? To love them. Yeah. If you are stepping into work, it's your duty to your, you know, give yourself to your work, right? And complete your duties as a professional, right? If you are, suppose you're going and, if you're a teacher, right? If you're going and teaching someone, so your duty is to teach. Right now, you are becoming a student when you join the class. So your duty is to listen, to contemplate, to actually reflect upon, what is discussed in the class, right? Absorb that thing. So fulfilling your duty, not being 50% present over here and 50% engaged in whatever is happening around you. No, your duty right now, as soon as you join the Zoom call, you become a student. So your duty is to listen, to do whatever students are meant to do, right? So in that very same sense, you know, you work on the action, and when you work deeply on it, you perfect it. You end up perfecting that action, right? And when you perfect that action, that is when you reach the state where you become a karma yogi. Your thoughts are so much in control, right? You have control over your thoughts, so you can control the actions. When you can control the actions, that is when you will not go wrong. Your today's actions are going to decide what is going to come tomorrow, right? There is no such thing as whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Yes, it is there, but if you constantly work on your present, you might actually end up building a better future for yourself. Like, you would have heard a lot of stories of a lot of famous people who did not have money, who came from a very humble background, but because they worked in that moment, in their present, they ended up changing their future. So whatever action they did at that time, they recognized it is powerful. You still have the power, right? No matter where you are in your life, if you're not satisfied with something, you still have a choice. If you can work on today's action, you will end up changing the result for tomorrow, because today is forming the basis for tomorrow, like your past formed the basis for today. Right now also, sometimes, we are unable to do certain things. We know it is the right thing. So it is because the past pattern, it is coming in the way, right? So your past is influencing the present, but your present is also influencing the future. So if you can work on the thought level, you can actually end up changing your future. You can actually end up going in the direction you really want to go towards, right? The goal you want to achieve, you can work towards it. You can achieve it. And hence, karma yoga is so important for all of us because it's the most relevant one. And it is, you know, even though it is hard to practice it, sometimes it's really difficult. But it is still the most practical way for us to exist, right? And over here, we harmonize everything, you know. So right now, maybe, you think something and you cannot act accordingly. So there is a conflict. We all have this internal fight that goes within us, where we are just like, constantly two voices are talking inside our head. Why? Because we are thinking something, but we are not acting in that way. So it causes so much disruption inside, so much conflict. So harmonizing your thoughts, your speech, and your action is going to give you so much peace, so much contentment with whatever you are doing, right? And For a karma yogi, the work is not whatever work is given. There is no high level or low level of work, right? So suppose, you know, there's some very high level manager somewhere working somewhere, right? And that manager is given the work of an assistant, right? You will see that person will not be very happy about it. That person will be like, this is not my job, I'm not going to do this. The person is capable of doing it, has the time, has everything, but will reject it. Why? Because there is this thought in the mind that this is a low level work. I'm not supposed to do it. This thing will hamper your growth, right? No matter where you are in your life, this thing is going to hamper your growth. Why? Because there is no high level or low level work. If you understand how you have to do your work, that is the main thing. Your intention behind the work, that is the main thing, right? It's not what you are doing, but how you are doing it. That is the main thing. So always, never categorize this is high level work, low level work. No matter what you are given, it's how you do it. That is what matters. So let me take the example of a doctor, right? So doctor, being a doctor, very noble profession, saving life, right? Very pure intention. And the society is considered to be one of the greatest professions, right? When somebody in the family becomes a doctor. But nowadays, what is going on? Selling of organs in black market, right? And doctors are aiding it, or maybe supporting certain pharmaceuticals because pharmaceutical companies pay them a lot, right? So they know that maybe that's not the best option, but because they are sponsoring that pharmaceutical company, they are being sponsored, right? They're going to push that ahead. So despite having the knowledge of the best way of saving someone's life, the doctor will fail in their profession. I'm not saying they will not gain success, but their intention has completely changed. Now they're doing everything to earn money. Their intention is completely changed. Now they are not focusing on saving the life. They are more focused on making money. So, just merely categorizing the profession will also not help. Why? Because your intention also counts. If you're doing something with a good intention, it is going to have completely different result. When a kid runs towards something, parent pushes the kid, takes the kid away. In your case, where you are just intention is so different, right? The person who is bear the same fruits, the same results as the person who scolded mindlessly, right? So your intention all full of these things. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna ji, Lord Krishna, he said that no human being can escape, karma. No human being can be free of action. If you are alive, there is some action that is going on at each and every point of time, right? Like I told you, the thoughts. So maybe you are sleeping, but there is some activity that is still going on in the mind. So if we are alive, it is a given that there is going to be some action. But he said that we can only control one thing, and that one thing is the expectation, right? We can choose to be attached or we can choose to be detached. That choice is totally up to us. But not wanting to do something, that is not up to us. This question generally comes up, that then should we stop doing everything? When we even talk of leaving the world behind and becoming just secluding yourself, You're not trying to get free from action, even then you cannot, right? If you have that recognition in your mind, if you have that deep level of understanding, you will know that at any point of time you cannot get free from action, but you can get free from the attachment, right? When you work on yourself, when you remove the defilements of the mind, when you work on purifying the mind, you can actually get free from the attachment, the bit that causes you suffering. It is not your desire, like it's not wanting something which is bad, but it is the selfishness behind it, as human beings we are selfish, right? So very slowly we work on these things. They will not come that easily. You will think that one day you go and you selflessly serve someone. No, step by step. So each and every day, you know start from a very small thing. Start from any one thing where you feel that you can observe why you are doing that thing, right? Begin to introspect. This is going to help you to see what intention you started with. Maybe you started with a very pure intention and right now it's totally changed, right? So you have to work on these things. So start introspecting, right? Start with something very small, but it is going to be highly effective and very helpful for you, right? So next time when you're performing the action, try to get these things in your action, right? Be more dedicated, try to detach yourself, be relaxed when you are doing that thing, and actually enjoy it. Life is not a punishment. If you believe so, if you are experiencing it so, then maybe you have to change the way in which you are living it. Life is meant to be enjoyed, right? You can do the same thing while smiling, right? It is possible, I'm telling you. The possibility is there, but there is a lot of work you will have to put in. That's the only thing. You'll have to constantly work on it. You cannot just say that, one day I will work and next 10 days are going to be great. No, each and every day you work towards it, right? Another very important thing when you know see karma yoga is that, if you meet a karma yogi, if you meet somebody who is fully devoted to their actions, you will see that they see whatever they're doing as a form of worship, right? As soon as you insert the concept of God, you know ego totally goes down. First thing. That is why, believing in God is so easy, because it will quickly work on the ego, right? So whenever you see whatever you are doing as a form of worship, when we go to God, we remove, our slippers, we walk very quietly, we remain quiet. Even if we have to chant something, they are mantras, or the way in which you worship the God, there is some prayer. So the way in which you exist near a sacred place, that is exactly how your work is. Whatever you do in life it is an offering to God, right? And when everything that you do becomes an offering to God, no matter what you are doing, that is the state, the state of the mind I'm talking about. That is the state of mind of a karma, where he sees everything as a way, as an offering to God, as a way to, worship God. If you're a teacher, when you walk in, it's a place of worship, right? So deliver your class in that way. If you are, you know, working in the corporate sector, whenever you walk in, it's a place of worship. Whatever you are doing, it's making the system work, right? And at the same time, it's not just you who is making the system work. So having this stability, this balance in the mind, keeping the ego in check is also very important. So no matter what profession you are in, if you are a housewife, you know, do that action with full dedication, right? Because nobody else will. You have to do it anyway. When I do something like, say I wash the utensils, right, at home, and my father does the same thing, right? So if he washes the utensils, then, after a while when I wash them, this happens, literally happens in my home. So my father, he cleans the utensils in the house, right? He has taken that responsibility, right? So whenever I step in or do it, you know there is something that, you know it is his way of doing it, or he likes the way in which he does it. So every time I do it, he's just like, okay, he's grateful, he feels grateful, but then at the same time he would rather do it, right? So something similar happens with all of us. Our parents, they're going to bug us throughout, that, do this thing, do that thing, you should do this, you should contribute in the household work like this, like this, like this. And the moment you do it, they are not satisfied. Right? Because,
Yes.
right, this thing happens. So
Yes.
any which way they have to do it, right? But they carry the burden. you know they get they you know they cannot stop doing it. So same with us. We cannot stop doing certain things, and somebody else, when they do those things, like our things, we feel as if, it was better if I would have done it, right? So any which way you are going to do it, even if you get somebody to help you, my point is, even if you get somebody to help you, you would most probably not prefer it. You would want to do it in your own way. So now if you have decided that you have to do it on your own, and there's no other way to go about it, then do it, with love. Right? Do it because it's your duty. It doesn't matter if somebody else is doing something or not doing something, right? The things that you have to do, you have to do them any which way, right? And we fool ourselves thinking that, if someone else would do it, it might become better for us. But then when somebody comes in and does it, we do not accept it. So either start accepting it. See, there are only two ways to go about it, right? Either we can begin to accept, right? Or we can accept that we have to do it, right? And then we can go ahead and do it. Just change the intention, be happy about it. So our life will also become easy, and everybody around us, their life will also become easy. When you feel irritated, agitated, people around you, there is no way in which they can be happy, right? Suppose you walk into a room where somebody is really angry or somebody is really sad, you feel that, right? You feel that sadness. You instantly catch that emotion, right? Or even if you are not able to catch that emotion, there is something in the room that makes you feel uncomfortable, right? So it's not as if somebody else is going to be happy, right? If you are not happy, you're not going to make them happy either. It's going to be all around you, right? So not only are you causing yourself suffering, you're causing everyone around you suffering, just because we don't know how to do things. So you can actually work on this, right, by the practice of karma yoga, right? Doing every action with perfection. When you do it in that way, you save yourself, you save everyone around you from that suffering, and you'll be able to live a much more harmonious life, right? So if you want to read more about, karma yoga, you can go and check the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna ji elaborates on this entire topic. He's starts from the beginning, and gives a lot of, like, in-depth understanding of what karma is, what karma yoga is, all of these things, while he's explaining to Arjun that he has to fight the war, you know. So in the beginning, he, introduces certain ways which are easier to adopt. So karma yoga is comparatively easier, right? If a person is practicing dhyan, yoga, raj yoga, it is higher level. Some level of development of mind is already required. But karma yoga can be perfected much more easily instead of Gyan Yuga, right? If you have to just study and work on the intellect, not everybody you know likes putting it in so much effort. So whatever you are doing, you can just change the intention and you know get the same benefits that anybody else is. It's just your personality. You are choosing this path. You believe in whatever you do, whatever work you put in. Instead of being passionate, you will become compassionate. So initially, we sometimes feel very attached to our work as well. There's so much passion that we put into it. So it's a way of it's the journey from uh, passion to compassion. That is what Karma Yoga actually is, right? So any doubts in any of this? Any doubts? Did you understand the relevance, what Karma Yoga is as a school, right? What you have to work towards? All right. If there are no doubts, then we can end the session, right? Yeah. Okay. So
What?
let's end
One
today's.
one more question, please. What
Mhm.
what if, like, if somebody want to work but couldn't work because of other situations, like, maybe there will be other situations. So for that people, what will you say?
Well, can you give me an example like of this thing?
For example, like, for a woman, like, they need to give birth, and they need to look after the children. It's become more of their duty. So
Mhm.
even if, like, they might need to do more sacrifices.
Mm. See, that's the thing. When I'm talking of Karma Yoga, I'm actually not talking of changing everything, right? There are certain things in your life that you probably cannot change, right? You will only have to accept them. And in some cases, you will have the luxury to change them, right? Where you leave the job or, leave your home. Like sometimes, we feel like we need to live separately. So sometimes we have that choice where we can, take those steps. So you can completely reject the other thing if you are too unhappy. But most times we do not have that choice, right? Where we can completely reject that thing. So no matter what you are doing, that is what I'm saying. No matter where you are, what you are doing, right? You have to do it with full dedication, because being in the midway is not very comfortable, right? If you are not denying it and not accepting it, you are somewhere getting frustrated by it. So I'm asking you to move towards either of the direction. Now it's your choice, depending on your life circumstance, which one you can opt for, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
but whichever one you are opting for, move towards that thing. Either completely come out of that thing, or if there is no way, in your life there is no way in which you can actually come out of that thing, just begin your journey towards acceptance, right? Because the more you accept it, then you will be able to see if your desire to attain those other things are there, right? And they are strong. Someday or the other, you are going to do those things. Don't worry about that, right? Do not place a timeline on yourself. Someday or the other, you will be able to do all of those things if your, you know, faith is very strong in those things, right? But any which way, you have to choose one direction. Don't get stuck in between. Move towards one direction. Now it's up to you at this point of time if the direction that you have to take is towards acceptance or towards like completely abandoning that thing, right? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So let's end today's session. So back and neck straight. Keep the eyes closed and start observing your breath. We will chant Om one time, followed by 3 Shanti. Inhale deeply for Om. Om. Shanti. 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 Just feel the vibrations. Join both the palms together and let's just bow down. Begin the day with some gratitude for everything we have in our lives. Let's just be grateful for it and rub both the palms together. Keep them on the eyes. And very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, open up your eyes. Come back with a smile. And namaste to everyone. I will see you all for your pranayam class in the afternoon. So bye bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.